Congestive heart failure is a really common cardiac condition, one with a high degree of morbidity and mortality associated with it. One of the biggest problems with congestive heart failure is people repeatedly get hospitalized with fluid buildup. So one of the real goals in primary care and cardiac care is to recognize symptoms early so you can intervene quickly so that things don't get worse so you or your loved one don't end up in the hospital multiple times. I'm internal med doc, board certified primary care physician. We have a lot of patients with congestive heart failure. We always coaching them. Look for these signs and symptoms so that you can intervene early and prevent hospitalizations. So shortness of breath is one of the most common symptoms in congestive heart failure. So how do you know when things are getting worse? Well, it's a change from their baseline. If they're chronically short of breath and suddenly a lot worse, that's a sign something's happening. If they're normally not short of breath at all and suddenly become short of breath, that's a sign. So it's a change from their baseline. Next symptom is something we call orthopnea, which means shortness of breath lying flat. Now, many different things can cause orthopnea, but in CHF, what people notice is that they're normally like one or two pillows when they sleep, and suddenly they need three or four. That's a sign there's a change in their baseline. Next symptom we learn about when we go through medical school and training, it's called PND, paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea. Basically, what happens is when you're lying and sleeping at night, you wake up gasping for air. Spending prolonged periods of time flat on your back, fluid slowly builds up and gets into your lungs, and you wake up gasping for air. Not super common, but when it happens, it's a clear sign something's getting worse. One of the hallmarks of congestive heart failure is fluid accumulation, primarily in the dependent areas such as your legs. So not all leg swelling is CHF-related edema, but if you already have a diagnosis of CHF, it's really important to know what is the baseline status of your legs. Do you normally have a little bit of swelling, and is it suddenly worse than usual? In addition to a change in the baseline amount of swelling in your legs, that swelling also translates into weight gain. So if you have a sudden increase in weight, 2 to 3 pounds for no reason, it's probably excess fluid buildup. And if that fluid buildup escalates into your abdomen, your scrotum, and other areas, then definitely we're behind the curve here. We got to get that fluid off. And lastly, a key historical fact that usually predates all these signs and symptoms I told you about, it's usually a high sodium meal. When you eat too much salty things, your body retains a lot of that fluid and you start seeing all these symptoms that I talked to you about. Very common classic scenario, Friday night went out to have some sort of food at a restaurant that is salt laden, or after the holidays eating a lot of salty foods when you visit your family or friends. So one way to sort of think about this is if you have this congestive heart failure or a loved one that has this diagnosis and you realize that they've had a high sodium meal either at a restaurant or at home, watch for all those signs and symptoms I talked to you about in the earlier part of the video that much more carefully. And the key thing is once you start seeing those signs and symptoms, don't wait. You need to act on it right away. You don't have a protocol on how to adjust their water pills or diuretics to take that fluid off. Contact the PCP like myself, contact the heart doctor so we can see you quickly, get those medicines adjusted quickly, get that fluid off quickly before you end up in the emergency room or the hospital. This is one of the biggest challenges right now